This is Marco Scola. Oh, that was too announcery. I gotta do this again. This is Marco Scola, and you're listening to Digital to Dice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave, and this is episode 266 of the Digital to Dice podcast. Ways to get a hold of us: digitaltodice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the text line. digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. We got a great one here for you today, as in episode 266. You hockey fans going to like this one. We got Mike Ignatoski coming on, and he's going to talk about his brand new Blue Lynx Hockey Spreadsheet, in which you can keep stats for your hockey project. I don't think there's anything out there on the market right now, and Mike has it. So without further ado, let's go talk with Mike. Hello, everyone. This is Dave here, and I'm with Mike Ignatoski, who creates the Green Fox Baseball Excel spreadsheet and also the Blue Lynx, brand new Blue Lynx Hockey Excel spreadsheet. Thanks for joining me, Mike.
Glad to be here, Dave. I appreciate the time.
So, you were down there in Connecticut with us. We didn't get a chance because you were busy and I was busy, but how'd it go down in Connecticut?
I had a great time. That was, a well worth 10-hour drive for me, wherever it was. And I got a chance to meet many folks in the gaming community that I hadn't really run into before. And especially getting some feedback on my new hockey spreadsheet. That was exciting for me to hear some direct input from users.
Yeah, a lot of people actually come up to me at the show, and we're talking about Digital to DiceCon 25 in Connecticut in May of 2025, if you're listening in the future. And people come up to me and like, Dave, have you checked out that hockey spreadsheet for inputting games? And I was like, I've seen a little bit of it. I haven't seen the final product, but people are generally excited. The hockey guys are generally excited to have something for this.
Yeah, that's been my impression too. I've found that the reception, not to knock on the baseball community, but there's more competition in the baseball area. There's just more stuff. So I have found that in the limited time that the hockey spreadsheet's been out, I'd say it has been a warmer reception, but not to make, I don't want to put a knock on baseball at all, but I would just say maybe it's just more of a attitude of, I don't know if to say desperation or just gratitude of there's an option out there to track stats.
Yeah, I think it would, because there's nothing right now. There's a couple of things I found, but they were just kind of strange to use and didn't make much sense. So, you were kind of putting a square peg in a round hole is what I'm getting at. It worked, but you really had to force it to work because it wasn't designed for what we wanted it to do. But anyway, so let's turn our attention to some gaming before we get into the spreadsheets a little bit more. What were some of the games that you maybe grew up playing or started to play?
My experience in tabletop sports gaming definitely was mostly Stratomatic baseball from when I was about, I'd say 14 through 19. I'm sure I played it mostly all with my brothers. I've never played a game solo, but all of my brothers are probably at least a couple thousand games. So that was like mostly the set. We started with the 78 year, we got the 80s, and then right in about that time was when they started coming out with these retro year set releases. So we got the 56, the 61, and maybe I think the 1950 was one of the last ones we had. So we had spent a lot of time and had a lot of enjoyment in there. And yeah, maybe to go along with being into that kind of stuff, we were also into all kinds of sports cards, not just baseball cards, football, basketball, hockey. And we go to a lot of card shows and did a lot of collecting. And that kind of, I would say, even before the Stratomatic gave me a real interest in stats and looking at the backs of those cards to see who was better than who and who played for whoever. So as a kid, you really absorb that stuff. So I still can recall, what a 74 John Hiller card looks like, but I couldn't tell you half the other ones. So anyway,
I enjoyed my baseball cards and hockey cards as a kid, too. I think as a kid, I started a collection, and again, you don't have any money as a kid. And I think I remember counting all the cards I had over the years. I think I had like 3,000 cards as a kid. And I thought, I was like, ooh, I'm going to go for the record. Then I heard about some guy that spent like, $10,000 buying cards. And I was like, yeah, well, okay, well, this 11-year-old kid's not going to be breaking any records, that's for sure. But I did enjoy looking at the cards, too, and reading the back. And I think I might have said this on the show a couple times that, I remember going to my upstairs neighbor's house and we were laying out the baseball cards and he goes, here's the game we can play. It's like you look at the back, and if it was the first inning, you looked at the pitcher's very first number, whatever the stat was, the first number in the first line, that was his number for the inning. And then the batter would come up and you'd look at the batter for, first number for the first inning. And then you go to the number 2 for the second inning and number 3. And it was really crude and didn't make any sense. But I mean, that was a way that, we were able to play. And so you got a single and home run and the whole bit. And so it was, I remember doing that only once or twice, though. We really did it once or twice, and it really wasn't any scientific behind it. It's just whatever number was on the card was what you got for the day. But we did do that with the baseball cards one time. I remember that. So you like stats, you like the baseball card, you play a little bit of strat. How does that lead into these spreadsheets?
Well, after I kind of gave up playing Stratomatic for the most part, I went off to college, became an adult, I guess you'd say, whether you like it or not. That's just what happens. But I went into, my background is engineering, but I really kind of was drawn toward software engineering, computer programming, that kind of stuff. So that's what my career has been, a lot of some engineering, and then I've gotten any kind of healthcare data stuff, but I've always had an interest in programming. Even before these spreadsheets, when my son was younger, maybe like from 7 to 12 or so, he got really into this trading card game, Pokemon.
Okay.
A card game. And I'd never really played it much, but he got really into it, and I ended up writing a shareware Windows program so you could play that online. And we had a lot of fun with that. And that was kind of my first foray into writing stuff for the freeware public. And it was gratifying to have people from all over the world email me about, hey, can you do this? Or this is good. And we would kind of go to some of these Pokemon tournaments. And, my son was like, my dad made this Red Shark program. Have you seen it? So it was a lot of fun. And that was, like I said, that was also free, but it kind of was the precursor to this kind of thing.
It's really interesting because, again, I'm not a big Excel guy. I used it a little bit, for one of my jobs, and I use it now for, I'm self-employed, so I use it to kind of keep payments and stats and things like that. And then I've mostly been using Excel in this hobby of cards and dice games, learning how to to have things add up and subtract and multiply and keep averages and drop down menus. And again, it's pretty basic stuff. For me, compared to anything I've done, was pretty advanced. But your spreadsheets, holy cow, they take Excel to levels I didn't know existed with Excel. Really, I mean, every little box you click on brings up another box, and you click on that, and something happens, and it's wow! It's amazing what Excel actually can do. It really is.
Excel is really powerful, and really, even maybe before GreenFox, I've only kind of had to dabble in Excel. Most of my life has been not working with Excel. It's not really my, I don't want to say preferred, but not really my bread and butter by any means. But what's really, I'll say, what Excel has going for it is a few things. One, it's been around a long time, and there's lots of public knowledge about how to use it. It's kind of omnipresent. Everybody knows what Excel is. I'm not saying everybody has it, but and because of that, there's a lot of information on it, and it does have I kind of really learned more about the programming language that it has built into it, but not a lot of people get that into it, for obvious reasons, because a lot of them don't have to. But, be able to kind of create those windows that pop up and such. That's what really kind of makes it kind of feature rich, so it so you don't have to type much. You just have to kind of click along. So I had to learn a lot as I went, but there's a lot of resources out there of how to do stuff. So that was attractive. The fact that it kind of gives you this spreadsheet layout, which is natural for keeping track of numbers and stats and that kind of stuff. So I don't have to build a database in the background or do a lot of other things. And so Excel has a lot of things going for it. And I don't have to, if you know anything about software, I don't have to create or write an installer. So how do you install this thing? Then it goes through all this stuff. Then how do you update to a new one? Or I had to do that with other software as a software engineer. But so there's some real benefit to the simplicity of it's just this one file. All you have to do is download this one file. Yeah, it has a lot of stuff in it, but it's all in one file. And you don't have to worry about how you installed it or these different files that go with it. And it just simplifies a lot of things.
So what brought you to creating, let's start with the baseball one first. So what was the driving force behind creating a baseball spreadsheet? Okay,
so maybe 2 years ago, when I decided that I would, I forget what exactly was the impetus, but maybe it was moving stuff around. I ran across my old Stratomatic box of stuff, like, I should see where that is nowadays, what's going on with that. And I kind of stumbled on some things, and I found this, I found an online leagues, and one guy was then looking for somebody to take over as a manager for a team that somebody quit. And I thought, this might be a good way just to kind of dip my toe in the water to see what I think of this, because it was just a half a season to finish up, and I'll see how it went. But anyway, so I did it, and it had this, use the website where you had to upload, but basically you had to go to this website and enter in your stats after every game. And it was a league where you played your home games, Mm-hmm. So I did that, and after a couple of games, I could just, feel the tediousness of having to enter all these numbers in one at a time. So I contacted the guy that made the web page and said, hey, can we work something out where we can maybe upload this whole team at a time or something? But he, for good reasons and other reasons, he wasn't interested in messing with his web page anymore. He said he was kind of just on, maintenance, cruise control. It wasn't really looking to develop a whole new thing. So I said, okay. And also, that was my first time that I ever, as I kind of mentioned, that I ever had to play any games by myself. So I had to play, both teams when I did it. And so that was novel to me. And at first, I wasn't really interested in doing it, but I just wanted to figure I'd try it for this league. And what I'd learned was, it was a real, what would I say? I guess eye-opening, but, comparing gaming as a kid, compare gaming as a 15-year-old, or, you have your 15-year-old, you got a lot more time on your hands.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
yeah.
it's easier to find somebody to play because you're kind of in the same situation with your friends and kids, even your brothers or sisters or whatever. But so I always, like I said, play with somebody else, but this was the first time I played without that. And it was, I guess I could kind of appreciate just doing your own thing on your own time. That's kind of a different kind of, I don't want to say escape, but just hobby, kind of, as opposed to battling battling my brothers in some tournament or something. Yeah. So basically, throughout that, at the end of that league, it was a few months. I kind of learned two things. One was these online leagues are a challenge because people quit. Mm-hmm. People get sick. Life happens. This guy was cheating. This guy. There's just a lot of things that go on that make it a challenge. I'm sure if you get the right group, it works. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to get and keep the right group. So then as I was playing, I was kind of opened up, kind of discovered the world of these. I guess say Facebook groups, kind of online groups that did different kind of baseball sim projects. And I realized that a lot of people did projects by themselves. And then I could appreciate why, it's like, it's my own time. I'll do it whenever. And then, so that's kind of where I ended up at the end of that league thing. It kind of disbanded, but it was at that I kind of switched my focus, because I was going to write this kind of web server that you could set up a league and then get your stats and your game all on this web server. But I got it started, but I ended up abandoning it because I said, I think if I just make this standalone Excel program for a person to do it all right in their own, study or game room, I said, I think there'll be a lot of utility for gamers for this. So that's kind of how I switched gears. That's probably a lot longer than you wanted to hear, but that was kind of my path to get there.
So you found a need, so to speak, and created that need. Was it necessity is the mother of invention, or invention is the mother of necessity? One of those things.
Yeah, and I would say I saw the need, but I can't say I was doing it that much for my own need. It was a little more like my need to. As an engineer, I want to make something. I want to make something.
Something you enjoy doing, yeah.
Right, something I like to do, yeah. If I had to, if it were my job, maybe it wouldn't be quite so. It'd be a little different, but
yeah,
it's not what I like to do, and I felt like people could appreciate it and have more fun doing what they want to do.
Okay, so we have the baseball game up, and you somehow found me and my hockey people, and we suggested, hey, can you do some with hockey? And you kind of took on that challenge and built a hockey one, correct?
Yes, I definitely appreciated that to kind of challenging nudge there of, I kind of found you as like, this guy's a, what would you call it? Like a tabletop gamer big wig, or at least something like that. Like, this guy's got a big following that maybe he could, promote the baseball thing, promote Green Fox a little bit, because I think part of my biggest challenge is just getting people to try it or be aware of what it can do. I think a lot of people are understandably kind of afraid of new stuff. So when you said that, I really hadn't, I guess I shouldn't say I hadn't thought, but I've minimally thought about it, but I'd never really played any hockey games. My brothers played some strat hockey, because I was kind of familiar with it, but I know that the baseball community is the biggest, but it also has the most players in it. And what I was kind of looking around, based on kind of what you said also, was like, I really couldn't find anything that existed that basically tracked a league and its stats cumulatively. There were a lot of people that have their own game spreadsheets, to score a game. But once you try to, do a season, I couldn't find that really.
I don't think there's one out there really. I mean, there's different programs out there that people have found workarounds on, and I found workarounds, but they were so. It was just difficult to get it done, and correcting mistakes was a big deal. So it's something I just never did. I didn't do those. Well, so what is it that they can do? What is it that your system can do? So obviously you can put in a schedule. You can play games with one team. You can play every game. Could me and you play in a league, and I could send you my games, or you send me your games? How does all this work?
I'll say, I guess what send means, but let me backtrack one sec to kind of bridge from the Green Fox to Blue Lynx here. One more thing was, the more I thought about the hockey, the more I thought about having created the baseball. I said, I don't know if I'd say at least maybe 60-some%, maybe 70%. A lot of the stuff is the same, especially the league architecture. All sports have leagues, teams, schedules. That part, rosters, that part of the engine is pretty universal. And really it comes down to, and even I don't say kind of the stats, but even sports have stats for the game, then stats for the team, then stats for your cumulative.
Right,
so that part is in common. So when I thought about it, I think, okay, really is, the score sheet is the biggest piece of work that you have to do for any of these sports. And once you get the score sheet down, I don't want to say the rest is easy, because it's not easy, but that's the biggest, I'll say, novel piece of work.
I would think it would be doing a hockey score sheet. Again, you get the standings and the scores and the players, and that's kind of all similar to a point. As simple as baseball is with the pitcher and the batter interaction, okay? Baseball, so many other things can happen. If you got runners on base, you got steals, you got catches and tag-ups, and all kinds of things can happen in baseball, especially with runners on base. Whereas hockey, it's a goal, it's a penalty, or it's just a face-off of some kind. And so on the score sheet, you're really just tracking goals and penalties and shots. So there's not a lot of hit to center field, runner on second scores, runner on first, thrown out at third. There's not a lot of extra things with hockey. So as different as it was from baseball, I would think that there'd be a lot less options on the hockey score sheet.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it is, as far as, maybe in tech talk, I'd say the business rules for a hockey score sheet are a lot less complicated than they are for baseball when you're trying to keep score of kind of every event in the game, almost, in baseball, if you got a baseball score sheet. Whereas a hockey score sheet, it's really just a matter of, I just need to capture these significant events, but I don't need to capture everything.
Right. Okay, so I just wanted to check and see how different they were. So there's some things that were in common, and some were different. Okay, so getting back to my point. So what do these do? So what? Let's start with the hockey one. We're talking about that. What does the hockey's Blue Lynx do?
Well, what it does, and I'll say in general, is it kind of tracks your league. You have to have a league set up to do anything in Blue Lynx.
Okay.
Unlike baseball setup, you can just go in and enter your lineups and play a game. You just want to use a score sheet, but you can't do that in hockey.
Okay.
You have to have a league set up. So it allows you to create different types of leagues, either historical leagues or what I'll call custom leagues, and we can talk more about that later, what those are. But so it allows you to create a league, and I was able to get a lot of data from the hockeyreference.com website that makes it easy for users to say, I want to just replay the 1979-80 hockey season, and it can, with a click of a button, pretty much load all those rosters, all those schedules, and all those teams. You're almost good to go.
Okay.
So it can create this league. It can help you create your rosters, and it can help you create your schedule if you're making a historical league or a historical project. And then once you have that, your main task, I will say, is you need to create your lineup for your team. It kind of, I wouldn't say it follows baseball there, but you need to be able to have each team has to have a default starting lineup, so that when you load it, say I want to load this game into my score sheet, it knows by default what up to 20 guys are going to be on the score sheet.
Okay, so that's part of the setup when you do this, is that you can't just jump into a game. You have to go into at least the two teams you're playing and make sure they have a default. Okay. And those, again, depending on what you're doing for your project there, when you get to the score sheet, you can maybe sit some guys and dress some guys, or do you have to create a whole nother roster for that particular game if it's different than the default?
Well, you do, but I wouldn't say it's very hard. You can just go in and say, I want to edit my lineup here on the fly. So you can, before you start, you'd say, edit the lineup, and you can maybe swap some guy out at third line, left wing, or whatever.
Okay,
Put in whoever you want in and out, and then just say, okay, use this, and it'll load it in.
Oh, nice.
Right
Okay.
there. So it's pretty simple.
Okay, perfect. And how about the schedule? Is in the teams? Are they all loaded pretty much, ready to go for you?
If you choose a historical league, yes, they are.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, so we import a season, and that's something we're going to do later on today on YouTube. Is we're going to load in a season. You're going to walk me through it. So you get your season in. I would pick a game, but then I would have to put in my default rosters. At least the first time I do it, right? Just the first time you put in a default roster for a team, and at least that satisfies the score sheet, right? To have something there.
Right, your default lineup out of your roster.
Right. Sorry, default lineup for that day. Yeah. So then I play the game, and I can either score it live as I'm playing the game, or play the game on the table as we did, and have a score sheet, and then just input it after the game as well. And then you save it, and so now that's going to save that, right? So now you're going to have standings for that league, and you're going to have statistics for all the players, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, you'll play your game you'll save whatever stats you want, or track stats. Basically, however you want to set it up, it can track different levels of stats during your game.
Okay.
But however you want to do it, you can configure that, and then at the end of your game, you'll save it. It'll save the stats, and it'll save the game results and update your standings for your league.
Okay. And let me see. Now, there is I saw when you were talking about this that if you wanted to, you could just input the scores into the game, and that would keep standings, but it obviously no stats to be generated. So that is an option as well, too, if you just wanted to play certain games, correct?
Correct. Yes, it has the option for on your schedule that you can either play your game kind of in your score sheet and keep track of individual stats, or you can just, to use what I would call a gamer term, you can use kind of a quick play result. You can just, on your schedule, enter a score for a game, and you can use a symbol to denote this is just a score-only game, and that so that it can be incorporated into the standings, but there won't be any game stats associated with it.
Right. I did that one time with, I think it was Downey's final score. I did the entire 1970-71 season, and it's a quick play thing where you just roll a couple of dice and you're done. And I played every single game, and I think I did it in Excel, and it was really, trying to keep track of everything and not make mistakes was tough. But in your situation, if I did that, you had the schedule all laid out for me. I just put in the scores, and it kept the standings for me, so that'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, that feature is something that isn't in the baseball spreadsheet, but it's a result of people having asked for that feature in the baseball, and I was going to add it in, but I figured I would use this opportunity to build it in from the start, because I really like that idea of kind of taking a season schedule for a whole league. Maybe you just want to play your team or most of your team's games, but keep track of the entirety of the league standings, and that's a way to do it. And you can either use historical results for those games, or you could do your own little quick play to change the results, however you want to do it.
Right. Now, you can set this up just for one team, too. Right, so you can load in the whole schedule for the whole league, or you can just kind of pick one team. I think I saw, right. So if I just wanted to play, the '92 Bruins, like I was doing with Hockey Bones, I could just load them and just kind of play them for my stats. Correct.
Correct. You'd load those 80 or 82 game schedule, whatever it would be. Although it would keep track of the stats for all the players that played in the games you play. But obviously only your Bruins will have the most stats, but it keeps track of all the stats for all the players in all the games, no matter what.
Okay. One final question I have here is there any multiplayer play? I mean, could me and you, play a co-op on something where, I don't know if one or both of us keeps the spreadsheet going, so you play a game and I play a game and we kind of converge or merge that. Is there any way to do that?
Right now, I'll say no, other than you send me this score sheet or a printout of your score sheet. But I plan to add that because the baseball spreadsheet has that.
Okay.
Like I could make let's call it a main spreadsheet and get the league set up, and I email you a copy of it, or you download it from wherever, and we determine who's going to play what games for this week or 2 weeks or whatever. And I play my games, you play your games, then you send me your spreadsheet. In my spreadsheet, there's a feature on the schedule that says kind of import game results.
Okay.
And it could look at what you sent me and said, hey, I see these games that they have results for that aren't played here. Do you want to import that? And it'll bring in all those game results and all the stats. And then I would update it and then kind of give you, here's the new version, for your next week or month or whatever you want to do. And we just keep going like that.
Okay. So how do we get these spreadsheets?
They're both available basically only on Facebook. We have these, Facebook groups. There's one for each of the spreadsheets.
Okay.
And you basically just go there, join the group, answer a couple questions, agree to the group rules, and then I let you in and you go to the file section and download it.
Is it one file or 2 files? I thought the hockey was 2 files you had to get, right? One was like...
Well, it's 2 if you want to do anything historical.
Okay.
So the spreadsheet itself is 1, but there's another file that has all the hockeyreference.com data in it. So if you want to do anything historical, which I think most people would, you'd want to get both those files.
Okay. Now, is this an Excel add-on, or is this a completely different spreadsheet I'm downloading?
They're both Excel spreadsheets.
Okay. So you need to have Excel to make this work, is what you're saying.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. All righty. That's about all I got here. So I want to say, thank you so much for creating the hockey one, by the way, because that's something us hockey people don't have. So looking for that. Now on the Facebook, they're both on the same Facebook page, or they're 2 different Facebook pages, one for Green Fox and one for Blue Lynx?
They're two different groups. Yeah.
Okay. So we got a Green Fox spreadsheet and a Blue Lynx spreadsheet on Facebook. Yeah. So join the group and download those files. All righty. Well, thank you so much. Again, this is Mike Ignatoski from Green Fox Spreadsheet, and now Blue Lynx Hockey Spreadsheet, and talking with us here about his spreadsheets. And be looking for some videos on my channel and also on his channel. He's put out some videos too, describing how to set these up in the spreadsheet and play some games. So, Mike, thanks for joining me.
Hey, glad to help out, Dave. Appreciate the time.
Hi, this is S.D. Patrick from my friends at the Digital to Dice podcast. This show has now far surpassed 200 episodes and has become an important staple of our community. It's important to many of us, and we have a stake in its success. If you're wondering what you can do to help it survive well into the future, I have the answer for you. You can join the Digital to Dice podcast on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/digitaltodice. That's patreon.com/digitaltodice and become a patron of this show for $5 a month. That's less than 1 trip to Taco Bell, and it's half the price of 1 pineapple pizza. Please consider becoming a Patreon of this wonderful podcast today. Thank you.
Hello, this is Glenn from Michigan, and you're listening to the #1 sports podcast among those who know not to put pineapple on their pizza, Digital to Dice.
So a big thanks to Mike for coming on the show and talking to us here on episode 266 about his hockey spreadsheet. And I want to say thanks to him for letting me get a sneak peek of that actually a few weeks ago, and that gave me the chance to offer some of my suggestions on some of the things I'd like to see in that spreadsheet as well. Anyway, ways to get a hold of us again, digitaltodice.com is the website, 978-751-DICE is the text line, digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email, and over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. Once again, I am Dave. Thanks for tuning into the Digital to Dice podcast, and until next time, put that pineapple on your pizza.